Hello, and welcome to a new kind of deep dive.
Hmm.
We're here to take a single source document, a transcript in this case, and really unpack it.
Yeah, dig right in.
We'll pull out the most interesting insights, the little knowledge nuggets, maybe some surprising facts hiding in there. Think of it as your shortcut to being well informed about what this specific source is telling us.
And the source material we're diving into today, it's a transcript from the Latin American Games Showcase Summer Game Fest Edition 2025. It is broadcast on YouTube.
Okay.
According to the text we have, the event's core stated purpose was really a celebration, specifically celebrating the vibrant, creative, and, well, diverse indie game scene that's thriving across Latin America.
Vibrant, creative, diverse sounds promising.
Yeah, and the transcript tells us the main host was Estefi Varela, broadcasting from El Casco Viejo in Panama City. It kicked off with an intro from Pedro and Isa of Coldblood Inc. They're based in Brazil.
Ah, developers themselves.
Exactly. They highlighted their debut game, Neverway, and talked about how honored they felt, to be featured right at the start.
Okay, so we have our source, transcript, the specific showcase. What's our mission for this deep dive?
Lay it out.
It's simple but focused. Use only the information captured in this transcript. That's the key constraint.
Right. Just the text.
To understand what was presented, what really stood out, and I guess what story this collection of games and details tells us about the Latin American game development scene right now, we're aiming to uncover the key takeaways embedded right there in the document.
And what's immediately helpful is that the showcase itself, as captured in the transcript, gave us a structure.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, grouped the games it presented. So that gives us a great framework for, our exploration today.
So what kind of groups did it mention?
Well, the transcript highlights several categories, games you could play right now.
Instant gratification.
Exactly. Some with demos, it noted an icon for that, and there was a related Steam sale mentioned, running until June 13th. Then, games that cleverly blend genres.
Okay.
Games where audio is like a primary focus. Titles made for that unique Playdate console.
Oh, yeah, the one with the crank.
That's the one. Then games defined by bold visual identities, ones inspired by classics, and finally games specifically built to evoke, strong feelings.
Fantastic. So straight from how the source organizes things, we can see this showcase was designed to highlight a really diverse range.
Totally.
Different genres, styles, platforms, even different purposes behind the games. It definitely paints a picture of a scene just full of energy and unique ideas.
It does.
So let's follow the transcript's lead then. Let's get into some of the specific examples it highlighted, starting with those games you could jump into immediately.
Right. The transcript kicked off by presenting games described as being available to play right now.
That's a great starting point, isn't it? Immediate access for anyone watching. Based on those descriptions and the source, what feels like the common thread, or maybe the biggest surprise among these play right now titles?
Well, looking at this first group, just based on the transcript, one key takeaway seems to be how developers are immediately presenting these highly polished experiences, often with strong replayability built right in.
Ah, so indicating a focus on commercial readiness, maybe, alongside the creativity.
Yeah, I think so. We heard about Nine Kings, described as a fast-paced roguelike,
Mm-hmm.
that genre with randomized levels and often permanent death.
Yep.
But here it's a kingdom builder, too.
Yeah.
The description of the source emphasized building your empire, battling rivals, and crafting these wild synergies with thousands of potential builds.
Thousands. Wow.
Yeah, for endless replayability, it said. It even posed the question, can you break the game?
Break the game. That definitely sounds intriguing. What else did the transcript highlight in this first batch?
Okay, there was White Knuckle, another roguelike, but this time a speed climber, set in the ruins of Substructure 17.
Sounds atmospheric.
Yeah, and the challenge, according to the description, is having zero room for error because, quote, one slip means a long fall into oblivion. Sounds intense. Focuses on precise execution, it seems.
Okay.
Then a shift in tone. Bubumbu. It was mentioned, described as a delightful hand-drawn world where you restore order by solving puzzles. The source called it short, sweet, and heartwarming.
Nice contrast there, intense climbing versus a heartwarming puzzle game. Were there action games in this first group too?
Oh, absolutely. Code Bunny was described as a lightning-fast action platformer. It features characters named Axel and Hazel.
Okay.
A key detail from the transcript's description was that movement is combat, and you master two unique styles to fight chaos on a planet called Lumna.
Movement is combat. Interesting mechanic.
Yeah. Also featured was Greek, Memories of Azure, called the beautiful puzzle platformer, where you switch between three siblings and combine their powers.
Ah, like the Lost Vikings, maybe?
Kind of sounds like it. And the transcript specifically noted this one was making its debut on mobile devices.
Switching characters, combining abilities. That sounds like a clever mechanic for a puzzle platformer. So, after highlighting games available immediately, the source transcript then shifted focus. It talked about developers really pushing boundaries, specifically mentioning games that blend genres in unexpected ways.
Mhm.
This feels like where we might find some really unique twists, maybe.
Yeah, and what the source transcript highlighted here is how developers aren't just mixing, say, two established genres, but sometimes integrating mechanics or themes in really novel ways.
Like what?
Well, the transcript featured Wander Stars. It described it as blending turn-based RPG mechanics with the feel of your favorite 90s anime, following characters Ringo and Wolf on a quest.
Okay, RPG meets anime, but there's a detail about the combat that really stands out in the source description, isn't there? Something about words.
Exactly. That's the twist the transcript emphasizes. Combat is built around words. You combine over 200 of them to craft custom attacks. It gave examples like Mega Punch or Hyper Shadow Blast.
Huh, that's different.
Yeah, and the source noted the game's episodes are built like classic anime arcs, playable, replayable, packed with surprises. Outside of battle, the description mentioned earning honor points for permanent upgrades, training your crew.
Standard RPG stuff.
Right, but also having the option to end fights peacefully and potentially make a new friend.
Ah, okay, that is interesting.
Yeah, the transcript explicitly said it's built to keep you coming back for just one more episode.
Combining words for combat and making friends in an RPG. That detail definitely suggests it's not just a simple genre mashup, it's like a specific thematic integration, really pulling from that anime inspiration.
Seems like it.
Okay, moving on. The source transcript then grouped games that put audio first.
Yeah, and this grouping, according to the transcript, wasn't just about, good sound design in general. It was about games that feel like music, whether through storytelling where audio is key or just having a killer vibe.
So the source is telling us audio is like fundamental to the experience, not just background dressing.
Precisely. The transcript introduced Changer 7, presented by an indie dev, Juno Cecilio from Brazil, described as a love letter to Toku Sentai.
Like Power Rangers.
Yeah, those Japanese superhero teams.
Yeah.
And Mahou Shoujo, Magical Girls, and Childhood Heroes. The voiceover snippets included in the transcript are clearly used to convey the game's feel through audio cues.
What kind of lines?
Things about being the change, battling darkness, using a box with secrets, combat calls like battle.roll, attack, do combos, finish with your ultimate power.
Okay, setting the tone.
Definitely. It also mentioned playing online from computer or phone, and some unsettling dialogue fragments too, like Anna, are you okay? Or be at peace, there must be no violence. And this particularly chilling one. Now stop struggling, you belong to us.
Ooh, okay. That definitely uses audio to hint at something darker.
Yeah, it shows the source highlighting how audio, dialogue, and tone are really central to the experience here.
That focus on using voice snippets and dialogue to set the mood, hint at the story through audio cues. It sounds really effective based on that description. Okay, next, let's talk about a particularly unique piece of hardware the transcript featured, the Playdate console.
Yes, the little yellow console with the physical crank.
Right.
The transcript highlighted 3 titles specifically developed in Mexico for the Playdate's second season of games, showcasing what it called incredible creativity on the platform.
Using a crank for control is definitely a bold design choice. What kind of bold ideas were developers bringing to it, according to the source?
Okay, first, Taria and Como was mentioned,
Uh-huh.
described as a physics-based platformer where swinging replaces jumping.
Swinging replaces jumping. How?
Well, you guide Taria, described as a determined girl with a prosthetic leg, through puzzles and challenges in a pixel art world, presumably using the crank somehow for the swinging. The description noted it's full of heart, humor, and resilience as she searches for her sister.
Replacing jumping with swinging and using the crank for that. That detail from the description highlights a really smart way to integrate the hardware's unique feature into the core gameplay.
Yeah, seems like it. Then there was Dig. Dig. Dino. Here the source transcript says you grab your shovel and join paleontologists hunting for dino bones, treasure, ancient secrets. You upgrade your gear to dig deeper, piece together skeletons.
Okay, a digging adventure. Makes sense for the crank, maybe.
Could be. And finally, Catch Diablos, a fast-paced roguelike where your crank powers the hunt. You trap mischievous Diablos, dodge attacks, use power-ups, all to capture them on a mysterious moon.
So a heartfelt narrative platformer, a digging adventure, and a crank-powered roguelike hunt. The transcript is showing three totally different game concepts, all built around that bold little console and its crank. It really emphasizes the creativity the source mentioned. Okay, the showcase also looped back at some point to highlight more games available to play right now, didn't it? Adding quite a few more to the list.
It did, yeah. That mid-show segment added significantly to the immediate access games. We heard about Questmaster, explicitly described as a Zelda-inspired maker game.
Oh, a maker game, like Mario Maker.
Kinda sounds like it, but for Zelda-style dungeons, you design dungeons, team up in co-op, and explore. Get this. Over 4,500 community creations, offering endless possibilities.
Wow, 4,500 already. A dungeon maker with that many community levels based on the source's detail sounds immense.
Absolutely. There was also Culebra, described as a papercraft adventure about Culebra, a snake with a heart of gold, helping the souls of Limbo escape their regrets while maybe finding their own purpose.
Papercraft aesthetic, helping souls. Sounds charming.
Yeah, and Outlanders was noted as a charming strategy game about nature-loving settlers striving for a simpler life, growing their village, shaping their destiny.
Peaceful village building and helping souls find peace. Those descriptions offer a nice contrast to dungeon delving and monster hunting.
Definitely. And there were a couple of games focusing on cards and strategy mentioned here too. Minekeeper, an early access tower defense roguelite about mental resilience.
Mental resilience, how does that work?
You build a stronghold of the mind and defend against inner demons with a twist where you mix and match cards to create powerful units.
Cards as defenses. Interesting.
And Kingdom of Cards was also mentioned.
Mm.
Another game centered on mixing and matching cards to create units where you experiment and expand your domain. The transcript highlighted that both these card strategy games had new content updates dropping right alongside the showcase.
Okay, so cards and strategy, but approached with different themes, mental resilience versus kingdom expansion. What about something a bit darker? I think the source transcript indicated a shift.
Yeah, for that shift in tone, Dreamcore was highlighted, a psychological horror game set in liminal spaces.
Ah, those places that feel transitionary or, like, unsettlingly empty.
Exactly. The description in the source transcript presented it as exploring what's beyond reality. It also had a new Playrooms update, dropping that day, apparently.
Psychological horror in unsettling liminal spaces.
Mhm.
That description definitely uses visuals and setting to immediately evoke a certain mood, doesn't it?
It really does.
Which leads nicely into the next grouping the transcript had. Games with bold visual identities.
Right. And the source transcript noted that sometimes it only takes a single frame for a game to catch your eye and pull you in, highlighting how, hand-drawn animation, distinct pixel art, or other unique styles can be the primary draw.
And several games already mentioned kind of fit that bill, right?
Yeah, like the hand-drawn Babumbu we talked about,
Mm.
or the unique pixel art of Taria and Como for the Playdate.
And the transcript went on to show off more games that really exemplify this idea, visuals grabbing your attention.
Yes, it brought up games like Despelot, described as a soccer game about growing up, exploring Quito through a child's eyes as Ecuador nears the World Cup, showing how a ball connects a city.
Huh. Soccer game about growing up.
Yeah, and its described unique visual style certainly stands out as key to conveying that specific setting and perspective. There was also Albatross, a backpacking RPG where the terrain is the challenge, following Isla on a soulful journey.
The terrain is the challenge. That
Yeah.
phrase from the description, combined with the visuals highlighted in the source, really does make Albatross sound like it's visually evocative of a challenging journey.
And then Euclid's Inferno, described as a fast-paced 2D shooter where geometry becomes deadly, blasting through polygonal horrors where ancient math becomes pure chaos.
Whoa, ancient math becomes chaos.
Yeah, the visuals are absolutely key to that abstract, chaotic concept as described in the source. We also saw Grizzly Man, a chilling slasher set in the Alaskan wilderness. The transcript suggests visuals are critical for setting the horror tone there.
Right.
The Remnants of the Rift, a real-time roguelite with a slick, retro-futuristic style.
Mhm.
You jump dimensions, battle, pausing, planning, and striking to the beat.
Striking to the beat, so some rhythm elements maybe.
Sounds like it. With a very specific visual style.
Okay. So, from unique character designs and cityscapes to abstract geometry and atmospheric horror, the transcript makes it clear that striking, unique visuals are a strong point. something emphasized for many of these Latin American titles.
Definitely seems that way.
The source transcript also dedicated a section to games inspired by classics.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how the transcript described these games. It talked about having tight controls, pixel-perfect design, memorable soundtracks, like the class.
Okay, the usual retro nods.
But it explicitly stated they bring fresh twists, modern polish, and a deep love for the games that came before. It specifically called out that it's not just imitation.
Ah, okay, so the source is framing these not as simple clones, but as modern interpretations, paying homage while innovating.
Exactly. You can see that in games like Questmaster, which it clearly linked to classic adventure games like Zelda, but
Yeah.
adding that maker element. Or platformers like Codebunny in Greek, Memories of Izor, building on genre fundamentals, but with those unique mechanics mentioned in their descriptions. Even a 2D shooter like Euclid's Inferno builds on classic arcade foundations, but with its abstract, chaotic twist, according to the transcript.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It shows how developers, as presented in this source anyway, are drawing on gaming history, but adding their own, maybe regional flavor and definitely modern design sensibilities.
That blend of nostalgia and innovation, as highlighted by the source, feels pretty powerful. Okay, finally, the transcript grouped games built specifically to evoke feeling, designed, as it says, to make you feel something specific.
Yeah, this is where the transcript moved beyond just mechanics or visuals, really focusing on the potential emotional impact. It featured voiceovers and snippets clearly aimed at evoking strong reactions, describing games that stick with you not because of the action, but because of what they make you feel.
So the source is telling us these games are explicitly designed to connect with the player on an emotional level.
Yes, built, as the transcript puts it, explicitly to connect. The voiceovers included lines that felt deeply personal or intense,
Like what kind of lines?
touching on internal struggle, like the greatest battle is not fought with swords, but within the depths of one's own soul. Danger and urgency. Danger is often impatient. Hesitation kills. You hit or you bleed.
Wow, heavy stuff.
Yeah, themes of worthiness or lack thereof. They will question if you are worthy. But that is irrelevant. No one is. We are not chosen because we deserve it. We are chosen because purpose demands a vessel.
Deep.
And there were hints of technology, rebirth, memory too. Your boot sequence. It worked. Welcome to Babel. Each time you die, your backup kicks in and a new model is awoken. Or, in this world of ashes, will you still remember me? These fragments from the transcript, they really paint a picture of games focused intensely on narrative depth, psychological themes, or thematic resonance, aiming for a lasting emotional impact.
What an incredible range of creativity we've just explored, and all unlocked just by diving into this single transcript from the Latin American Games Showcase.
I have quite a list, yeah.
From fast-paced action and cozy builders to psychological horror, charming platformers, games driven by words or physical cranks, and titles designed for deep emotional connection, it really showcases the diversity the source promised at the start.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the stuff presented throughout the source, the showcase wasn't just a display of games, right? The transcript also detailed a significant support infrastructure around this scene.
Ah, right, the sponsors and initiatives.
Exactly. It listed numerous presenting sponsors: Raw Fury, Epopea Games, Playdate, Annapurna Interactive, Pulphatry Studios, Halberd Studios, and Universidad Panamericana Campus Guadalajara.
That's quite a few big names and institutions.
And official sponsors, too. Panic, Tengen Entertainment, Fellow Traveler, Astrolabe Games. But what's fascinating, based on the source's details, are the specific initiatives mentioned.
Like what?
Supporting stations at MX Spring during GDC, the Game Developers Conference. That links the scene to a major international industry event.
Good connection to make.
And hosting their first game jam, which, according to the transcript, brought together over 900 developers who created more than 140 games.
Wow, 900 developers for a first game jam. That's huge.
Yeah, and this led to top teams pitching at Gamescom Latam, Latin America, and one winner specifically partnering with Whitethorn Games.
So real opportunities coming out of it.
Seems so. The transcript also mentioned an indie game fund, Outer Sloth, backing several titles from the lineup, including that opening game, Neverway.
Okay, so it really shows a scene that, according to the source, is not just producing games, but actively building connections, educational initiatives, funding opportunities, all that infrastructure stuff. And that specific call-out mentioned to scouts and publishers, noting that over half the games were self-published or open to opportunities, with the showcase offering to help make connections.
Yeah, that stood out.
That's a really concrete step described in the transcript, isn't it? Towards fostering commercial growth and global visibility for developers in the region.
Absolutely. And this raises an important question kind of hinted at by the source's emphasis on cultural contribution.
Which is?
How will this growing ecosystem, with its unique mix of cultural influences and these specific support systems detailed right here in the transcript, how will it continue to shape the global gaming landscape?
Good question.
The source explicitly emphasizes that the region's culture has a lot to offer to the world, and it highlights the inspiration derived from seeing so many diverse games coming from the region.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, this deep dive into the Latin American Games Showcase transcript reveals a really dynamic and actively building part of the global game industry.
Yeah, definitely worth paying attention to.
It's full of diverse ideas, unique creative approaches, projects you might not easily discover elsewhere, and the source's mention of that special bundle involving the Women-Led Games Showcase and the Southeast Asia Games Showcase.
Right. That also highlights a conscious effort, it seems, for cross-regional collaboration and broader indie visibility, building bridges.
And the source transcript left us with one final kind of evocative moment, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. What was that?
That distinct voice saying, "Hello, Samuel. My name is AILA."
AILA.
Yeah. A direct teaser, it seems, from one of the mentioned studios, Pulsatrix Studios. It's like a reminder, captured right there in the source, that this scene is constantly pushing forward, ready to surprise and engage players around the world with new stories and experiences.
A little cliffhanger from the transcript itself.
Kind of.
Mm.
Which leads to maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Okay.
Consider the power of game showcases focused on specific regions, like this Latin American one, as revealed by digging into this transcript.
Yeah.
They function not just as platforms for developers to, show their work.
Right. Not just a shop window.
Exactly. But maybe as essential bridges, connecting unique cultural perspectives and all this creative energy
Right.
with a global audience, potentially shifting what kinds of stories, what kinds of gameplay experiences gain prominence in the wider gaming world.
Food for thought. How regional showcases can act as bridges and maybe even change the global conversation.
Something to think about.